Kevin Hincks, co-host of Fast Market, is with me. He's live at the CBOE. And I did mention that meeting that we saw in Washington with Zelenskyy and many other leaders and President Trump. What's the latest there? What are we waiting on next?
Good morning, Nicole. Yeah, after yesterday's meeting and phone calls with Vladimir Putin, there was, longer meetings. Here's the really good news that everyone should take a positive tone from. These meetings went much longer than expected, which means they may have been getting into some of the details. And if it looks like without joining NATO, if Ukraine were to get NATO protections under Article 5, that's the victory that Ukraine is looking for. Now we get to the land concessions part that obviously Russia is going to demand. And then you're going to get, remember, this is all going to come down eventually to two things: the land, the protection, and crude oil. Right? Russia's ability to sell to India, Russia's ability to sell to China. So those are the topics still yet to be resolved. There's probably a lot to go through, but I think yesterday's meeting was nothing short of historic. And there was no contentious arguments. It was all positive and a massive attendance of leaders from around the world and around Europe. It was pretty impressive to see the pictures for sure.
Yeah, it was certainly a coming together, a meeting of the minds, no doubt. There was some reassuring feelings there, but that doesn't mean that you can keep Vladimir Putin in check. So we'll have to wait and see on that. We hear from Fed speakers this week, including Michelle Bowman, who was one of the dissenters in the last meeting. She was pushing for a cut at that time. And Powell on Friday, just to name a few. Your thoughts on the Fed speakers?
Well, the Fed, obviously, Michelle Bowman is speaking today around 2 Eastern. As you mentioned, she was one of the dissenters, so therefore we'll be really paying close attention to what she says. Then on Thursday, the Jackson Hole Symposium starts, as you've already mentioned. Jerome Powell speaking on Friday. The title, Labor Markets in Transition: Demographics, Productivity, and Macroeconomic Policy. That's the title of the symposium put on by the Kansas City Fed. So obviously we'll be getting headlines out of there as that evolves, culminating with Jerome Powell speaking on Friday. That will be a market-moving event for sure. Does he guide towards lower interest rates, kind of what the market's hoping for and expecting, or does he wait? We need to see more data, do the kind of neutral thing. That may frustrate the market, Nicole, like he did at the Fed meeting. He didn't guide towards September. Does he guide towards September here? That's the question going into his speech on Friday, Nicole.
Yeah, understood. Housing data, we've had a lot of conversations. We did see mortgages dip over the last few weeks, but now what, right? Some of the housing data has just shown the slowdown that we've seen in housing, and it's just such an affordability issue too. Where do we stand there?
Overall, today's starts and permits data was mixed. Remember, a housing start, which is the beginning of the excavation for the foundation, that number was a nice beat, 1.43 million on housing starts. That was higher than 1.29 expected, higher than last month's 1.32 million that we had. So nice beat, nice jump in housing starts. Permits was a bit soft, 1.35 million. That was less than 1.39 expected and less than 1.39 million from last month. So a beat on housing starts, a slight miss on housing permits. But just like Home Depot's earnings, everyone is looking to the second half of the year and the possibility of lower interest rates. Remember, Home Depot is up about $8 or $9, somewhere between $8 and $9, trading $403.50 right now. That they missed on earnings per share, missed on revenue, but they guided for better year-end numbers and a bottoming housing market. So all those projects that they think didn't get canceled just got put on hold until interest rates come down. This whole housing sector of the U.S. economy, builders, Home Depot and Lowe's, all these things that service the housing sector, they need lower interest rates. They need rates closer to 6 than 7%, Nicole.
Yeah, understood. Last but not least, we've had some movers this morning. We've had news of investment in Intel. We'll be covering that. That was huge news. Home Depot, Palo Alto as well. Want to touch on any of those?
Palo Alto Networks, they're out there. They're higher again this morning. They beat fourth quarter estimates. They gave strong guidance for fiscal 26. Remember, these earnings that are coming out are fourth quarter fiscal 25. So they're like 2 quarters ahead in terms of their fiscal year. But they beat on the numbers, and they gave great guidance for fiscal 26. So revenue's up 16% at $2.54 billion versus $2.5 expected. Earnings per share 95 cents versus 88. So nice number. Good earnings, good revenue, great guidance going into next year. Has Palo Alto higher? I had it up about $11. Let's see where it's going now. Refresh. It's up. Yeah, it's still up about $11.
Wow, good news there, right? All right, Kevin Hincks at the CBOE. Thank you so much.